Okay guys, so we got a little bit of weather coming this way. Hopefully this afternoon I'll be able to get out and do just a little bit of cutting with my Red Max, because I really need to get this guy broken in. It doesn't even have a tank ran through it, probably not even a quarter of a tank, honestly. The need to break this thing in so that I can start doing different things with it, and that way I'll be able to tell a difference between, is it this saw just breaking in, or is it the modifications that I did that are making a difference? You see what I'm saying? So like if I take this saw right now and I modify it and then I go out and use it, well, it could be very much that it's gaining more power because the saw starts to break in. So I need to get it broken in before I start doing the power adder stuff. So what are the power adder things, by the way? Whoa, look at this, Eric. Salyer, he knows that, what's your new channel name? Ease Saw Repair or something like that? I can't remember, buddy. I'm sorry. I'll try and remember that so the next time I can plug you better. But he'll show up in the comments, guys, and look for him and check out his channel. He knows I've been looking for one of these because I want to try the carburetor and the electronic system, the ignition system, because this is a 550 XP Mark 1. This is a Red Max 5000. And so this right here, what this actually is a 545 Mark 1. So all of the components on this should fit right on here, no problem. And we'll see if it makes a difference power-wise, because what I'm interested in is leaving the regular crank in here and seeing if adding just the ignition and carburetor to this is going to give it a big boost in power, but it'll still be able to keep its torque. Because these guys right here don't have their torque. They've got a lot of revs, but they don't have their torque. Another difference on these is the transfer caps. So I'm, at least at first, for sure going to leave the transfer caps on here because they're smaller. It should yield higher velocity. This right here, which the higher velocity is going to add to, should be torque, right? This right here, the open transfer ports, is going to yield higher RPM. So all of that stuff said, I want to run this as much as I can to get it to break in, or at least close to breaking in, before I start doing that stuff with it. Because I've actually got big plans for that saw. I've got a lot of different things coming down the pipe. Like I've got my Craftsman 3.3. Brennan, you'll hear me mention it. I'm telling you, that is the thing to be excited about right there. That is the thing to be excited about, literally with the help of Brennan. I mean, the idea is all me, 100%. You know, 100% me. And I deserve a lot of credit with that too. But I couldn't have done it without Brennan and his being able to put my concept into action. And so thank you very much, Brennan. We came up with a cool little trade to get that work done. And so that saw is going to be on its way back to me. And you guys will see what I do with it from there. I am a little bit miffed. Okay, I'm gonna be honest about this, but I need to get over it. I need to get over it. So this idea is mine, and so I have this huge desire to be the person to see it through. And I do all the porting and all that stuff, and I want all the credit. But Garrett Barker is going to port it. He will be able to do a better job. And that's where I need to get over myself. I need to get over myself. This is definitely my idea and it's my baby, and I want to port this saw. But I also want this saw to be the best that it can be. and Garrett has experience with this setup, and his Johnson Red 2150. I always do this. I always mess up. I think it's a Johnson Red 2150, but it could be a 2149 or it could be a 2152. I don't know, but I think it's a 2150. So his Johnson Red 2150 was the fastest saw even in the 60cc class. So, yeah, he knows what he's doing, and I need to just shut my mouth and get it set up for him, because I've got all the parts here and stuff, and get it sent to him. And that thing's going to be, I mean, I don't know if it'll be the fastest thing ever. I'm not really, I mean, sure, I hope it's the fastest 50cc saw ever made. Let's throw that out there. But do I think it will be? No. I mean, that's you know, there's always something to beat you. But the big deal with it is, it's going to be the coolest. To be able to roll up and pull out a Craftsman 3.3 and do some serious damage, there ain't much cooler than that. I don't care if you're a Steel fan, a Husky fan, a Poulan fan, an Echo fan, I don't care. The idea that I've got a black Craftsman 3.3, it says Sears Best on the side of it. I don't know, I've got some custom graphics actually I'm going to be putting on it. That's going to be the coolest thing in the world, because everybody's going to go, what is that? And then whenever they find out that it's a Craftsman, dang, that's just the coolest. But anyways, on to this. So this is the Poulan 4000. So first off, right off the bat, so that I don't forget, I was wrong on the crank bearings. I said that you can't get these crank bearings. What happened there was a very natural misunderstanding. I was looking all of the normal sources for crank bearings for these things, and nobody had anything at all. And so whenever I asked my source, which is Kevin, you know, do you have, you know, I say, what about crank bearings? Basically, it was a loaded question, because I didn't say, do they make them anymore? Anyways, the way he took it was, I was asking if he had any, and he was like, nope, no bearings. And I thought that meant, seeing how I had already exhausted all of my looking for crank bearings, I was like, well, shoot, man, they don't make the bearings for them anymore. But it turns out they do make the bearings for these. You can find them, you just got to know what you're looking for, and I did not. But whatever, we're good. That crank, it is, I mean, God, it's imperceptible. My big thing is I won't be able to get this to not move. These are old style roller bearings, needle bearings is what they are. They're old style needle bearings, and it's just not going to be perfect. So I need to learn to go, it's okay. And it's close, it's very close. But what I'm having an issue with here is, so the cylinder, I have already cut the squish band. Look at that, isn't that nice, guys? I cut the squish, I'm getting better at this. I haven't measured it, but I probably took about 20 thousandths out of the squish, probably, which led to the base getting probably about 40 thousandths cut off the base. Maybe more, I don't know, I don't care. All I do is I cut a little bit off here, I check it, cut a little bit off there, I check it, cut a little bit off here, I check it, cut a little bit off there, I check it. That's the way I roll with this. So what I did check the timing numbers. The timing numbers are redonkulously stupid. I mean, this thing has horrible timing numbers. The only thing that I've seen that has timing numbers like this is that really crappy Husqvarna 435T, the top handle, that I was like, this thing sucks. Anyways, Here's the timing numbers on it. Without the gasket, we had 43 thousandths squish, intake at 65.6, exhaust at 98.2, and transfers at 124.7. So let's talk about that for a second. That's without the gasket, meaning that whenever the gasket was in there, it had even worse timing numbers. Because whenever the gasket was in there, it raised the exhaust roof even higher. So it opened at not 98.2, it probably opened at 97 degrees, which is freaking horrible numbers. Terrible numbers for this setup, you know? And then the intake, it's opening without the gasket, stock cylinder, 65.6. So that means it was probably more likely 64 degrees that the intake timing was opening. It's terrible. That's only 128 degrees of duration. This saw should have about 156. And that's a lot of time that you are wasting, just wasting, not making any power, not sucking in any fuel. Terrible. And then the blowdown numbers, for the way that they're working it, I think it's probably not all that bad. I might leave the blowdown exactly where it's at, because what I'm going to be doing now, so in building this saw, I am going to be focusing on torque. I want this thing to be a torquer. And what I have in doing the work to the lowering the cylinder, you know, cutting the base, cutting the squish, cutting the base further, right? I'm incrementally getting that cylinder lower and lower and lower. And by doing that, that means my exhaust opening comes on later and later and later. So last I checked, the exhaust was opening at about 103.5, which is perfect. That is right where this it's like a 64cc saw. And I want that exhaust to come on late. That way I've got a long power stroke, because I want this thing to torque. With those crank bearings the way that they are, and the wrist pin bearings, it is just a terrible setup. So if I aim for high RPMs, I'm just asking for trouble. You don't want to do that. This thing was never designed to turn high RPMs. So I think it was designed to literally peak at like 8,500 RPMs. That's low. That's really low RPMs, guys. But I mean, it's standard for the day. No problem. It might have been designed to actually peak at 8,000 or 7,500 RPMs. I don't know. But what I'm hoping to do is to get it to peak at about 10,000 RPMs. Nothing crazy. The saw will handle 10,000 RPMs. That's not an issue. But like, for example, a stock Timberwolf 590, probably going to peak at 9,000 RPMs. Probably. Going to realistically pull 10,000 if you're letting it ease through the cut. I don't know if it's even going to pull 10,000. Honestly, I don't know. But Joe would know. Dyno Joe would know right where those things peak, because he's done the dynos. He's done the dynos. So maybe I'll look back at that. But yeah, I'm hoping that I can get this thing to peak probably as much as 10,000 RPMs. But I have doubts, because I'm going to keep that exhaust roof low. If you keep that exhaust roof low, then you are giving massive amounts of time, or as much amount of time as you possibly can, to the explosion driving the piston downward before the exhaust opens. So there's that. Then the other thing is the blowdown. So with the blowdown, a lot of talk about the blowdown. Listen, I've got a pretty good handle on it in my own mind. Am I going to be able to explain it good enough to you guys? I don't know. But you've got couple different ways of thinking with it. It does a lot of different things, and it all depends on how you are building. You know, if Charlie builds a saw this way and then I go in and I change just the transfers, I might just screw up the whole saw. But those same transfer numbers worked great for somebody else, for Pat. You know, whatever. So, the way I see it is like this. If you are opening up your transfers, giving a lot of volume, or if your intake is really open, you're giving a lot of volume. Well, if you open your transfers early, then what that volume is going to do is go and just spill into the cylinder. Okay? Because it's got a lot of volume, it doesn't have much velocity, because you didn't give time for that to pressurize as the piston is coming down. If you open it up really early and you've got a large amount of volume in your transfers, then it's just going to puke the fuel into your cylinder, which is going to be fine if you want a really torquey, low RPM saw. However, if you have your transfers small, there's not much room in there, you got just little bitty transfers, then they're going to want to move fast. If they're moving fast, then you need to open your transfers sooner so that you can shoot that in there. Well, with this here Poulan, I think that what I'm going to end up with, just because this is the way it's designed, it's an open port setup and everything, right? The way that it's designed is it has big transfers. It's got a lot of volume in the case, in the intake, in the transfers. Therefore, in order to get that to move into my combustion chamber with velocity, I have to have a much higher blowdown number. So in stock trim, it was looking at, I believe, about 27 degrees of blowdown, right? So what that's doing is all that volume that it's able to suck in, right? As that piston goes down, it's building pressure underneath the piston. So that whenever it finally opens, because it's got a high blowdown, whenever it finally opens, it won't go and just puke the exhaust. It's going to be a high velocity puke. So as it goes down and those transfers open, because you've waited such a long time for those transfers to open, they're going to come in there with a lot more velocity had you opened them sooner. So there's a lot of stuff that plays in, and we're all just trying to figure it out. You know, some people have a better handle on it than others. Of course they do. Of course. You know, some people have a style. Some people have a style and it works for them. And that is great. Is one style right and one style wrong? No. Because let me tell you, man, I have ran some fast saws. Like, well, the prime example is the 550 XP Mark II versus the 545. I would rather run the 545. It's got torque. It pulls harder. But the 550 Mark II is faster. And there's no doubt about it, it's faster. But you tend to have to baby it through a bigger cut. It is a zip limbing saw. Whereas the 545 is more of a, just a good solid torquey. Use around the farm or pro. It's a professional saw. It's totally a professional saw. But it's all potato. And anybody who says that somebody else is doing it wrong, right? Well, they're either wrong themselves or they're just an asshole. Don't be an asshole, guys. Don't be an asshole. I've seen some of the saws that Iron Horse has done. They look like good saws to me, They look like good saws to me. I ain't got no issue with that. I've seen saws that Aaron and Pat, the Vanaway, Stump Shot, you know, they all look like good saws. They all do. All right. I've ran saws by Charlie, Joe, Garrett, Matt. I mean, I at this point I've ran a lot of saws, and they're all great. They're all great. They are. They're great. I've ran bellhopper saws. I love it. Why would any douchebag fight over this stuff? It's stupid, man. This is the dumbest thing ever. They're a freaking garden tool. Who cares? And you know what? If you guys are out there and you have had problems with people in the past, get over it. Let it end here, today, right now. Bygones be bygones. But I am very excited about that Poulan. Why, you say? Because it had such terrible numbers right out the gate. And it ran pretty good. You know, not the best thing in the world, but it ran pretty good. I liked it. And it had terrible numbers. So, in correcting or optimizing the port timing for this thing, I feel like it's going to run really, really nice. Really nice. And I'm excited about that. Let me show you the paint. Clearly you can notice that I've painted it all up and stuff, right? Right? Well, so I had a bit of a foobar. Let me just show you. You can see right off the bat there how terrible that looks. All right? Look at this. So I was all over the place with what I was going to do. I think that I need to start all over with these purple plastics. They really look, and I even missed that. That's not a terrible job, Bodie. Terrible job. I can do so much better than this. I don't know. My big mistake was my primer that I used on this was regular rattle can primer, and then I painted over top of it with really good purple paint. You can really see it. Look at this one. That's called crow's feet when it does that. And that is because the base coat of this right here, the primer that I used, was just regular rattle can primer. And then I went over top of it with a really good automotive quality base coat, clear coat setup. Now it has not been clear coated because I plan on chemically removing all of this paint and starting from scratch. But those are external covers and it's perfectly fine. If I put them on, run the saw, see how it runs, and then find the new covers and start it all over and make it look pretty. Because the case already does look pretty. I did not mess up the case. The case looks good. That right there is, well, let me find the bottle of paint, and I'll tell you. Where's it at? That is not it. That's plum crazy purple right there. What is that? Oh, Arctic Gray. It would help if I was somewhat organized, wouldn't it? That ain't gonna happen. I know myself too well. Anyways, whatever. I think it's like Hot Lips Lime or something like that. Some funny name like that. But what I did was I took in brand new, well, you saw it in that box. Let's see if it matches up. I haven't done this yet. I took in this is a brand new clutch cover, plastic, and I tried to match up the colors. That is as close as I could get it. You know, that is pretty darn good. But it's still not perfect though, you can see. Yeah, sucks. You cannot match that plastic. You can't do it. You can't match that plastic with paint. But you can get it close. You can get it close. And I'll let you know what that is. And, you know, just keep watching the channel. I've actually mentioned it in other videos. I know I have. What color I came up with. Dang it. I'm going to pause this. Found it. Hot Licks. Wait a minute. Manufacturer's Hot Licks. Anyways, right there you go. That's all of the info right there. If you want to find what I have found to be the absolute, hands down, closest mix to the Poulan factory lime green color, that is it. I have tried other stuff. The one that's really easy to remember is the Mopar color, Sublime Green, and it's almost identical. It is almost identical. So you can just remember Sublime Green and get that. But this one is closer. It's still not perfect though. You can't match it. You can't match it. That's not to the plastic, not perfectly. But anyways, this video is long enough. Hope that you enjoyed it on some level. And I'm out of here.